The rain tapped softly against the window, a dull rhythm in an otherwise silent room. A single lamp flickered, casting long shadows across a cluttered desk. Bills stacked high, unopened rejection letters scattered, and a half-eaten meal pushed to the side. At the center of it all sat Michael Carter, his head buried in his hands. His once bright dreams had withered under the weight of failure. 10 years ago he had been full of ambition. Now he was a man drowning in regrets. He had tried everything: new businesses, job applications, even moving to another city, but nothing worked. It felt like life had closed every door just as he reached for the handle. The worst part: he wasn't just broke. He was empty. He had given up on believing things could change. Then, his eyes fell on a crumpled letter at the edge of the desk. A letter he had ignored for weeks. It was an invitation, one last chance at something different. A seminar, a mentorship, or an opportunity that required a decision. Go or stay. Seemed small, insignificant, but little did he know, this one choice would rewrite his destiny forever. Michael stared at the letter in his hands, his fingers trembling. It was an invitation to a business seminar, something he once would have jumped at, but now felt pointless. He let out a bitter laugh. Another waste of time, he muttered, tossing the letter back onto the desk. Outside, the city lights flickered in the distance, mocking him. His phone buzzed. A final notice from his landlord. Eviction in 30 days. Michael clenched his jaw. Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm just meant to fail. Then a thought hit him, one so simple yet so terrifying. What if this letter was his last chance? He stood up and paced the room. The rain outside had turned into a downpour, mirroring the storm in his mind. He imagined the outcomes. If he ignored it, nothing would change. If he went, he could fail again. But what if he didn't? His heart pounded. One decision. Stay stuck or take a leap. With a deep breath, he grabbed his coat, shoved the letter into his pocket, and stepped into the storm. The cold night air bit at Michael's skin as he stepped onto the nearly empty street. The rain poured down, soaking his jacket, but he barely noticed. His mind raced. The seminar was across town. A 2-hour bus ride, money he didn't have, and no guarantee it would be worth it. Every step forward felt like a battle between fear and hope. At the bus stop, he hesitated. What if I'm making a fool of myself? The old doubts whispered in his mind. But then something shifted. He thought about the past 10 years, the endless cycle of failure, the moments he had let fear win. Not this time. The bus arrived, its headlights cutting through the rain. Michael stepped forward. The doors hissed open. A single step onto that bus felt like stepping into the unknown. His heart pounded, his hands clenched into fists. But as the doors shut behind him, he realized something. He had just made the decision that would change everything. Michael sat near the back of the bus, staring out at the rain-streaked windows. The city lights blurred as doubt crept in again. What if this was a mistake? What if nothing changed? By the time he reached the seminar venue, his clothes were damp and exhaustion weighed on him. The room was packed, professionals in sharp suits, confident conversations buzzing in the air. Michael felt out of place. He found a seat in the last row, arms crossed. The speaker, a self-made millionaire, took the stage. His words were powerful, but Michael couldn't shake the feeling that success wasn't meant for him. Then, during a Q&A session, Michael raised his hand. What if you've tried everything and nothing works? When do you accept that maybe you're just not meant to succeed? The room fell silent. The speaker locked eyes with him. The moment you stop trying is the moment you choose failure. The ones who succeed aren't always the smartest or the luckiest. They're just the ones who refuse to quit. Michael sat back, his chest tightening. Was he about to quit on himself again? The seminar ended, and as people networked, Michael hesitated by the exit. He could leave now, return to the life he knew, or stay and push past his fears. A hand tapped his shoulder. It was one of the event organizers. The speaker wants to meet you. Michael's heart pounded as he followed the organizer through the crowded hall. Why would someone like that want to talk to someone like him? The speaker stood near the stage, watching as Michael approached. "You're the guy from the last row, right?" His voice was calm but sharp, as if he could see straight through Michael's doubts. Michael nodded. "Yeah. I don't know if I belong here." The speaker smirked. "Neither did I once." He reached into his pocket and handed Michael a card. "Come by my office tomorrow. Let's talk." Michael stared at the card. This was it. A door had just opened. But his mind fought back. Was this real? Was he ready? The next morning, he stood in front of a tall office building, staring up in disbelief. He had spent years looking for an opportunity, and now, for the first time, one had found him. As he stepped inside, he didn't know exactly where this path would lead. But for the first time in years, he believed one thing. His life was about to change. Michael sat across from the speaker in a sleek, sunlit office, a world away from the dimly lit room he had once called his reality. The speaker leaned forward. "Tell me your story." Michael hesitated, then spoke about the failures, the regrets, the moments he almost gave up. He expected pity, maybe even dismissal. But instead, the speaker nodded. "You remind me of myself." Over the next few months, everything changed. Michael worked harder than ever, reading, learning, networking. For the first time, he wasn't just surviving. He was growing. Doors that once seemed locked forever began to open. Job offer. A business opportunity. A mentor who refused to let him quit. The man who once sat alone in a dark apartment was now standing on stage, speaking to a crowd, just like the man who had inspired him. And then, one day, he met someone just like his past self. A man drowning in failure, full of doubt, looking for a reason to keep going. Michael smiled and handed him a card. "Come by my office tomorrow. Let's talk." Michael stood at the edge of a packed auditorium, looking out at the faces in the crowd. Just a year ago, he was the man sitting in the last row, filled with doubt. Now he was the one on stage. He took a deep breath and spoke. "One decision. That's all it takes to change your entire life." The room fell silent. "I was at rock bottom, convinced I had no future. But in my darkest moment, I made a choice. A simple one. To show up. To take a chance, even when fear told me not to." He scanned the crowd, locking eyes with a young man who looked exactly like he once had. Lost, uncertain, desperate for hope. "I didn't know it then, but that one choice would change everything. And now I'm standing here to tell you, your moment is coming. The question is, will you take it?" The audience erupted into applause, but Michael wasn't focused on that. His eyes stayed on the young man in the last row. He recognized the look in his eyes, the same hesitation, the same hunger for change. And then, just as Michael had once done, the man made his decision. He stood up. Dear beloved, Michael's story isn't just a story. It's a reflection of real life. We all stand at crossroads. We all face moments where fear whispers, "Stay where you are." But growth, success, and transformation only come when we dare to take the first step. No matter how many times you've failed, no matter how impossible your dreams may seem, you are always one decision away from a completely different life. So when your moment comes, when the choice is in front of you, choose faith over fear. Choose action over doubt. Because your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of that one decision.